Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be in your day. Welcome to the next edition of Castiron Bites. And I'm Mark Josephson, the founder of Castiron. You can find us at shopcastiron.com. I am really excited today to be talking to Liz Adams, who you might know as Arty McGoo, and I want to get into all of that. But Liz and I were just chatting, and I asked Liz what she wanted to talk about. And Liz said cookies. What'd you say, Liz? You said
Cookies all day, every day, cookies.
cookies all day, every day. And that's my love language. So I'm so
Mm.
thrilled to be talking. Liz, welcome to Cast Iron Bites.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
It's, I shared with Liz a little bit more of the background story as we're trying to connect with leaders in the space and with interesting stories. And Liz and Artie have been recommended to me countless times and by people I really trust and respect. So you're a tough get, but a great one. Maybe start, Liz, tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
So I started just randomly, like most of us do, making cookies for my kid's birthday. Wanted something unique, tasty, not a bag of junk to give out as a party favor. That was the goal at first.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll make cookies with a monogram. How bougie for my 7-year-old daughter. And the whole process took longer than I thought it would. But it was so interesting to me. I thought, oh my gosh, this canvas is so fascinating. I need to do this again and again and again and again. And every time I did it, I just learned so much. I got new wrinkles on my brain every time. And just it was fascinating to me. I've always been kind of an artistic person, hobby jumper, hobby hopper, went from photography and clay and things like that. This one fulfilled so many creative pursuits into one thing.
Why do you think that is? And it's stuck. So what's special about
Yeah,
cookies, do you
right.
think?
It's like you create from start to finish, from absolute the concept. How do
Mm,
I communicate this feeling that I want to communicate? I want somebody to feel happy. I want somebody to feel scared. How do I do that? Through
mm.
sugar, through the colors that I use, through the textures that I use, the techniques that I use. How do I communicate that? It was, oh, I found out how to talk. I found out how to communicate to people.
It's so powerful. And, as an entrepreneur and a tech guy, I always want to solve problems, automate, simplify, streamline. But I've always talked about the moment of joy. And maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe what you're talking about is slightly different, but it's an emotional feeling and an emotional moment when someone gets something that has been handcrafted and made with art,
Mm,
artistry and love and like talent,
yeah.
and of which I have none. My talents live in other areas, but not in that. And I'm not joking when I say it's my love language because we communicate love through these gestures and emotion and actions. And what you just relayed to me is really powerful. So talk to me a little bit about that journey. And it was an artistic thing, but now you're communicating and it's a medium. It's truly
Yeah.
special. How do you do that? I mean, really, like I have no idea.
Well, like when you see something, I'm a very visual learner, very visual person. So when I see something, I feel something.
Hmm.
And it's like I'll take a picture of it to remember like, oh, this made me feel something. How do I get someone else to feel that same thing? That's
What's an
always my
example?
goal.
What's an example of that? What's something you've taken a picture of?
So okay, so specifically, I was in Italy, strangely enough, teaching for the first time cookie decorating. First time I ever taught cookie decorating. I went flew to
Why,
another
why
country.
would you go anywhere else? Right.
Exactly. And I'd never taught before. It was a huge adventure in the first place. And I was looking at shops. It was after I'd done teaching, and I was now just kind of taking in the place, taking in visuals, taking in the feeling of the place. And I I was told to go to this mask shop, these beautiful handmade masks.
Hmm.
And it was such a beautiful place. And they had these also these like three-dimensional like stages, right? These like children's toys of just different levels of a stage. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I was just drawn into this little stage, this little, beautiful creation. And I thought, how I need to translate that
Yeah.
first to English out of Italian, and then to sugar. How am I going to do that? And funnily enough, that in that instance, you weren't allowed to take pictures in that shop. So I didn't take a actual picture. I took a picture right here and stored that away. And it was actually probably a couple years before was able to translate it to cookie. But I did. I made levels of cookies to create that feeling of being drawn into what's happening here,
Oh,
what's going
wow.
on in this
Yeah,
stage. So yeah,
that's
yeah, the
special.
depth,
So you're a cookie instructor, a cookie art instructor, right?
Mhm.
So, and people can find, where can people find you?
ArtyMcGoo.com is where everything is housed. I have all my tutorials. I've been teaching online for 9 years now.
Amazing.
So yeah,
And that's
yeah,
Arty McGoo, ArtyMcGoo, just like, that's
that's
the
it.
Italian, right? That's from Italian, right?
It's the Irish.
The Irish, right? The Irish spelling. So artymcgoo.com. Take us from Liz Adams to Arty McGoo. How'd that happen?
Yeah, yeah. So boy, it's such an organic journey. It's been really unexpected and wild. Like I said, the first time I decorated was for my daughter's 7th birthday party. And then it became, oh my gosh, can you make these for me? So then I started taking orders, and people would say, can you do this? And I'd say, of course I can. And then I'd say, why did I say I can do that? I don't know that I can do that. But I figured it out as I went, took orders, and then got this invitation to teach in Genoa, Italy, to teach this art, and that was through Facebook.
Hmm.
And I just thought, this is really a thing? I can go, and I've never been out of the U.S. So it was an adventure in a lot of ways. I'd never taught. I didn't know if I would like to teach.
Mhm.
So I set up the whole thing, made sure that I wasn't going to be, murdered or something. It was a legitimate organization that taught cake decorating there,
Hmm.
and went over and just had the most incredible, most rewarding. As much as decorating cookies was rewarding to me, the teaching was even more rewarding.
Yeah,
To take people and they see what we're going to decorate and they go, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to make this. This is really scary to me. And then at the end of class, they are so proud of what they've made. And I was,
that's an incredible feeling, isn't
that's
it?
it. That's it.
How'd,
Yeah.
how'd you come up with Arty McGoo? What's the name mean?
So yeah, that's a weird name. It actually came before cookies, strangely enough.
Hmm.
I think if it came after cookies, it might be like fluffy butt cookies or something, something more, specific to cookies. But because I was a hobby hopper, I was hopping around hobbies. I was raising my kids, um, and my youngest was ready to go to kindergarten, and I was ready to go back to full-time work. I was ready to go back to the bank, and my husband said, "Hold on a minute. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you get big?" And I thought, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, take a breath. Just figure that out. Maybe you want to do something else."
Hmm.
And so I thought, okay, I love doing artistic things. Maybe I should, kind of experiment with that a little bit. So I started a blog where it was like a journal of my artistic pursuits,
Yeah,
just kind of like, oh, I'm going to, paint this thing or draw this thing and then kind of share it with my mom, my one reader.
yeah. One
And
subscriber.
yeah. And then very soon after, it was just a couple months into this blog. And at the beginning of the blog, it was like, I need a name for the blog, of course. And I wanted it to be a space that was, artistic. I knew that was my focus, but that I didn't take myself too seriously. I wasn't, a fine artist. I'm not trained. I'm not educated in the arts. So it
Mhm.
just was a fun artistic space. And so I thought, Arty McGoo,
Perfect.
because I like to add McGoo to things with my
Okay.
kids. Like
Yeah.
pick up your stuff. Messy McGoo. Let's get
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
So I thought Arty McGoo. And the funny thing is when I thought of this name, I got chills all up and down my body. And I was
Yeah.
like, what was that? That was
Yeah.
it was really weird, but I was like, that's the name. I don't know why why
That's
that's
so
important
cool.
or anything.
That's so cool. And so again, you're at artymcgoo.com. Talk about what you teach. What do you teach your students?
Everything I possibly can. We get uncomfortable together. My goal is I want people to be uncomfortable because that's how we grow.
Hmm.
So I want them to look at the lesson and go, oh gosh, I'm not good at X, Y, and Z. I don't know if I can do this one, but I'm going to try. That's my favorite thing is, and I'll push myself too. Oh, I'm not comfortable with that, but I'm going to try it. And we're going to work on this together. And really, the more techniques you can learn and master, the more you can communicate.
Yeah.
Right? The more you can get a soft feeling for something, or like a very graphic thing. And the more you practice those things, the more you can show through your cookies.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. I'm so jealous of people with the talent and skill to communicate through the arts and through things other than like bullet points in an email, which is what I live in. Uh,
That's amazing to me. That's amazing.
yeah, right. I do have talents. They just don't live in this part of the world. Um, we talk to a lot of like business coaches, right? And people who are
Mm,
helping home bakers build small businesses and successful and sustainable businesses.
yeah.
Um, how much of do you think of the pie or cookie overall is art versus business or art versus science? And
Oof.
where do you like to spend your time?
I mean, I definitely, I just want to sit and marinate in the art side all the time. And that was a big part of, I'm glad I took orders in the beginning and I went through that process, because there is such a line of being proud of something you created,
Hmm.
but making money on it. When you take that leap of going from a hobby to a jobby and then to a job, it's that finding out, I need to be proud of what I'm making, but I need to make it fast enough where I'm making money. It's a gift from someone else. This isn't a gift from me. I don't want to be losing money,
Right.
but I want to be proud of what I'm creating. So it's a hard place to find, but it's really important to find it.
Do you touch on that in your coursework, or are you're fully in the design side, in the art side? I want
We
to make
have
sure people know what
definitely,
to get.
yeah, right. We've definitely touched on it. I've had some business coaches and things come on. So I have some guests come on every month. There's 5 segments. So there's a segment called Expert Lab where I have someone else come on and talk
Uh,
about what they're, which, hello, you're invited to come on, please. Uh,
Bullet points and emails.
yes, I think this would be amazing. And they talk about what they're great at, because I'm definitely not great at that. And so having someone else really talk through and think through what I like to call double braining things,
Mhm.
um, and the parts you don't love, you still need to either have someone else do it, or you need to figure out how to at least get it done.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we touch on business a bit, but it's definitely more focused on the designing and
On the
and
design
the
side, it's
techniques.
I'm so enjoying this conversation. I just came out of an interview. I was interviewing somebody, and one of my interview questions is really the first question I ask. Well, it's the second question I ask. I want to ask you because you're so interesting. But how do you describe your superpower?
Uh, Superpower.
Superhero
Wow.
McGoo over here. Arty McGoo.
Okay, it's funny because I used to be super, super shy, and that might be kind of surprising because I can talk cookies all day, every day. But I was painfully shy growing up, even into my adulthood. But when it comes to cookies,
Yeah, game
it's like
on.
I just, yeah, game on. It's just like I could talk about it all the time. It's so exciting. So it's just like I found my, I guess cookies in general is my superpower, because I find so much joy in it, and it's so easy to talk about and to just play with. I'm not scared. I'm not shy about cookies.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is I have high expectations of others to be able to do it. Like
Hmm.
I love the advanced classes. I love teaching advanced classes. It's intense. We pull out all the toys, all the techniques, all of the things, and it's an all day class. But the beginner classes, I still do them because introducing people to that world is so much fun, and I expect so much out of them, because I'm like, you can do this.
You can do
You,
this.
you can do this. You can make beautiful things that you're proud of, and I just love that part.
Liz, your I see your superpower, like, or what I really admire about you is that you found a passion and you've embraced it
Mm-hmm.
in a way that with confidence, with curiosity, with hard work, because what you do is not easy. It's a lot of work. And joy. And like, do very few people actually get to spend their time working on something that brings them joy, like clearly
Yeah.
lights you up from the inside. And I mean, this isn't why I'm sharing that with you, but that's what I want to do with Cast Iron, is I want to
Mm,
create this platform and marketplace where
yeah.
the our artisans can spend time and build a successful business doing something like with the joy that you bring to the table. And then the people who are getting the cookies get to have that amazing, joyful moment that
Yeah.
combines every sense, all
Yeah.
five senses. And that to me is just so powerful and so aspirational. So I have three quick wrap up questions for you that I
Okay.
ask everybody. And I know you don't know them because I haven't told you. The first question is, what's the best meal you ever had? But actually, what's the best cookie you ever had? I'm going to stay in
Oh
your comfort zone.
gosh. I mean, I am a foodie too.
Okay, how about the best meal you ever had? That's what I ask everybody else.
The best meal I ever had, man, that's my favorite part about traveling and
Yeah.
teaching and traveling, is the food. So, boy, I'm going like, was it in Australia? Was it in Spain? Was it in
Yeah.
Italy? Was it in
What's
France?
it? Give me a
Um,
good one.
the best one, again, I think I have to go back to the first time I was in Italy, and teaching. It was a big part of that experience too, I think. It was in Florence and it was kind of off the beaten path. We had to walk to get there, and it was very quiet, beautiful, serene restaurant. I think, if I remember correctly, fountains bubbling over here
Yeah.
and just greenery and like a garden. It was outdoors, and it was the most beautiful, visually most beautiful tasting food. And I don't exactly remember what I ate except for burrata. It was a starter, the burrata.
Yeah.
It was like nothing I've ever had before. Yeah, oh my gosh, I was just like taking it all in. And so now every time I go to a restaurant, if there's burrata on it,
Yeah.
sold.
Yeah.
Takes me right back.
It's just so interesting to hear you describe it because I can see, like you described it, like I could see a 3D cookie, or as using 3D not as an
Mm,
artisan, but something with depth and fabric of that experience. You described it like the whole way around, and you didn't say, "Oh, I had this piece of fish and it was prepared this way." Like I asked that question because I'm a foodie, also
mm,
because I think it shows how you see the world. Um,
yeah,
and
that's interesting.
so my next question for you is, what's the best piece of advice you've been given, and who gave it to you?
Oh, wow. So much. I am a listener. Definitely, I'm much more of a listener than a talker. So I take in a lot
Mm.
of what other people say. I really, um, you know, I highly weight other people's words and their experience. But funnily enough, is that a word? Funnily, I've used it twice now. um, it, I think the change. I think almost a turning point for me was when I'd been decorating cookies for maybe a year and a half or so, and I was invited to be a keynote speaker or a core instructor at a cookie con, a cookie conference. And I hadn't really met other cookiers in person. This was a very much a virtual thing. And to get up in front of all of these people who were very talented and very great to talk about what I do, it scared the pee out of me. It scared the
Yeah.
sugar out of me, I should say. That was just frightening. And my first instinct was to say no. I could never do that. But I took a minute and I just thought that is the dumbest reason to not do something.
Mm.
To be afraid of something, that's a terrible reason not to do something, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there are good reasons to not do something. It's good to learn how to say no, and make sure you're taking care of yourself. But if your reason is that you're scared, it's not a good reason.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And my last question for you is, who can you share the name of somebody who inspires you in our space and that we could maybe talk to for a
Mm.
later episode of Cast Iron Bites?
Oh, so many people, so many for different reasons too, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think back to the beginning days of what I was learning and who I, learned a lot from. Um, I think of Terry Lewis from Tweet Cookie Connection, and I think of Julia Usher, you know, I met her,
Yeah.
got my book signed by her. There are just so many, you know, there's so many. I have a list,
Well,
but for
I'll
different
ask you
reasons, you know,
offline for that list.
okay.
We've had Julia on. She's awesome.
Yeah, and for
Amazing.
just different reasons, each of these
Yeah.
people, either for a business reason or just things they've overcome and things, you know, so a lot of different reasons, but so many great, inspiring artists, business people in this space. Ugh, endless.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough. I want to make sure everybody knows to go to artymcgoo.com. And you too can work with Arty McGoo here with Liz and explore your creativity, level up your game, learn from experts, probably
Mhm.
laugh a lot, learn a ton. I couldn't recommend it more. I've really enjoyed this time together, Liz. Thank you so, so much. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you. It was great talking to you, Mark. Thanks.